For years, people have been saying that Game Pass is the best value in gaming, and that is a statement that I agreed with a lot. I have been subscribed to Game Pass for a really long time because it is such a good value. And I'd love to tell you that the reason that I canceled my subscription was because I saw this news today and I was mad and decided, screw you, Microsoft. I'm going to get you and unsubscribe. But I can't say that. The reason I'm no longer subscribed to Game Pass is because about 4 days ago or so, I was recording a video and I was thinking about it and I said, you know what? I have been subscribed to Game Pass for a really long time and I don't remember the last time I turned on my Xbox. Almost all of my gaming happens on PC. But Bill, you ask, you could use Game Pass on PC. Well, actually I can't because I installed Bazite on my PC, so I have like a little Steam console instead of a regular Windows PC. So Game Pass has just been sitting there unused. And just a few days ago, I unsubscribed. I even joked recently on an episode of the podcast, which is linked down below. You should subscribe to it if you haven't checked it out. I even joked on a recent episode of the podcast that I might re-up my subscription to Game Pass once I get my hands on the Xbox ROG Ally X. And maybe that was a joke. Maybe it was a little bit less of a joke. I'm not really sure. But then this news came out today that Microsoft is raising prices yet again. This time it's not hardware that prices are raising. This time they are raising the price on Game Pass. And I have to admit that we've been talking about Game Pass on my podcast for a really long time, and we keep saying that they're boiling the frog. And I think at this point, they're done boiling the frog. This time, I feel like instead they reached into that pot, they grabbed the frog, they threw it on a skillet on a skillet. They threw it on a skillet with a stick of dynamite, and they said, screw the frog, we'll cook it faster this way. It went from $20 per month up to $30 per month, a 50% increase for the highest tier of Game Pass. And this is not the first time that they've raised prices. If you go back to when Game Pass was first announced, it was only $15 per month. And that wasn't that long ago. And that's what drives me crazy the most, is just how fast the price has literally doubled. And I will say that I don't feel like, I understand that sometimes prices have to go up. And I have said for years and years that, if you want to raise prices, do it on new customers. Don't do it to old customers. The reason why you do it to new customers and not old customers is because that encourages your older customers to stick around. It creates this dread that if you unsubscribe from the service, well, then when you come back, that price is going to be jacked way up. Well, I don't have that worry with Game Pass or with most subscriptions these days because nobody respects the customer enough to keep that price the same. And every time I say this, I always get comments down below that prices are going up, so they have to raise their prices. Well, okay, maybe that's true, but I don't think that they're hurting that bad. When you look at Microsoft's profits, I'm not talking about how Xbox itself is doing in the quote-unquote console wars, but when you just look at Microsoft's profits, they are making money hand over fist at the same time that they are showing the people who are making them the money the door and raising prices on their customers, making it harder for people to continue to subscribe to their service. And I just think that that is a really terrible way to do business. Guess what, though? It's making them tons of money. So I don't want to hear that Microsoft doesn't have a choice. They have to raise prices in order to make Game Pass profitable. They said recently that Game Pass is already profitable. And so when they talk to their shareholders and they say that Game Pass is profitable when it was $20 a month, then why do they have to raise the price to $30 a month? most of the time on the show, we talk about the fact that it's tariffs, the reason why they had to raise the prices for things. But there is no such thing as a tariff on a digital good. At least there isn't, as far as I know. And because of that, it just doesn't make any sense for Microsoft to raise the price. Now, they did a really good job trying to put this in a light where they're giving the customer more options. And to be fair, I don't like it when companies raise prices and don't give me something in return. We'll look at Netflix for that. They keep raising the price of Netflix, and it's still the same service. I'm not getting anything better for taking more money out of my bank account. Microsoft is doing that, though. They are improving the service at the same time as raising the prices. But I don't think that that's the right way to go about this. I think the right way for Microsoft to go about this is, instead of doing that, change the name of the tiers and make the new Ultimate tier the more expensive one, and now have 4 tiers instead. Keep everything the same for the current customers. Say, if you want to sign up for Game Pass, you can't sign up for the lowest tier anymore, the old tier. I think it was called Game Pass Core. At this point, you can't sign up for that one anymore. Now the bottom tier for any new customers is the middle tier. And the middle tier isn't actually the middle tier anymore, because now we have 4 tiers. And then the most expensive tier that has all of the new things that they added into Game Pass, that's a new tier that they add on. That's how you give customers choice. They didn't really give customers choice. What they really did was raise the price and told the customers, there's nothing that you can do about it. So what exactly changed? Well, let's take a look at this graphic that was provided by Microsoft. They still have 3 tiers. The bottom tier, which used to be called Core, is now called Essential. And they say that contains 50 plus games, now playable on PC, console, and cloud for $10 a month. One thing that I will point out about this is, up until now, the Core didn't include PC. This tells me that Microsoft's strategy going forward is all in on PC, which is the thing that we've all been saying for a really long time anyway. They're exiting the console wars. They're all in on PC at this point. I think that Sarah Bond, who is the current president of Xbox, not Microsoft, she was in one of their little videos, and she specifically said that their goal was to make Windows the #1 place to play games.
That's why we're working closely with the Windows team to ensure that Windows is the #1 platform for gaming.
That tells me Xbox is dead. They are moving on. This is how we play games now. And having Essential, which used to be Core, including those 50 games, now playable on PC, essentially now all of the tiers are for PC. Let's move on to the Ultimate tier, which is the one that I was subscribed to until just a few days ago. The reason I was subscribed to the Ultimate tier was because it included console and what's the other one? Oh, PC, even though I really never used it. The Ultimate tier includes twice the amount of games as Premium, 4 times the amount of games that are in Essential. It's also playable on PC, cloud, and console. This one costs $30 a month, which is a ridiculous price if you ask me. Some people might disagree with me. They might look at that price and say, hey, I subscribe for $30 a month and I have access to 400 games. The alternative is I spend $70 or maybe even $80 on a game, and that's the only game that I get to play for that month. I totally understand how the price works for some people. I just think that it's too much of an increase too fast, if that makes sense. That's $30 a month. They say 75 plus day 1 games per year, including all Xbox published games on day 1. Now that day 1 should, on this little graphic here, come with a giant asterisk. Asterisks. Did I say that right? Anyway, it should have a giant little star afterwards. And here's why. You don't actually get to play those games day 1. Day 1 is when the game is available for somebody to pay money and play, right? Well, day one is not day one anymore. It used to be day one, but then what Microsoft started doing is you could buy early access. Early access is not early access. Not paying for early access just means delayed access for everybody who doesn't want to pony up the dough. So maybe you subscribe to Game Pass Ultimate and the new, I'm just going to use a Halo as an example. The new Halo game comes out. Well, if you pay extra, like if you buy like the pre-order bonus thing for $100 or however much it's going to cost, you get access to play a week early or 3 days early or something like that. To me, that means that 3 days early, that's day one. Everybody else who doesn't pay that, they're playing on day 3 or a week later. And so, sure, they can say it's day one, but it isn't really day one because they're delaying the game for everybody that doesn't want to pay the extra money. Although I'm not being 100% fair here, because if you subscribe to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, I believe you also get a discount on those like deluxe edition things that include, early access. But I still don't like that the way that they do that. And also, to be completely fair to Microsoft, they are certainly not the only ones that do that really, really shady shit. All right, let's look at the rest of this. Well, here's what they've added to the Ultimate tier, and some of it actually sounds pretty good. Ubisoft Plus Classics and EA Play are included, with Fortnite Crew coming in November. Now that actually sounds pretty good. If you want to play some old Ubisoft games, or if you want to play EA games, or if you play Fortnite on the regular, you get a bunch of V-Bucks and the ability to like get skins and stuff, I guess, which all sounds wonderful. But the fact that they increased the price and then bundled it all in just really rubs me the wrong way. Because what I think that they should have done instead of that is just take all of those new things that they're adding in, which they are adding in to make the service quote unquote better. They should have just added that to the new tier and have that new tier be the more expensive one. Hell, they could have even made that new tier more than $30 a month, and I really wouldn't have cared because I would have just ignored it, if that makes sense. So if you don't want those Ubisoft Plus Classics and EA Play or Fortnite, if you don't play Fortnite, then all of that stuff is lost on you. But the 400 plus games that are available, maybe you want access to those games. Maybe you want access to day one, and now you're being forced to pay for things that you don't actually use, like Fortnite or EA or Ubisoft Classics. It just seems like a really terrible way of doing it. These companies are chasing stockholder revenue, and they know that if the stockholders don't constantly see growth every single quarter, then they're going to leave. And when they do, the stock market, the price of the stock will tank, and the people who are in charge will get fired. The real problem here is that you and me are not their customers, and I don't think we ever were. Their customers are the shareholders. I don't know. I felt like I just needed to rant, and maybe it would make me feel better. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section down below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. From the Nerd Nest, I'm Bill. Stay rad. Thanks for watching.